the two culture at the same time.
Now, we've talked about this on the show before, right? We've got fresh, that's a nice pound-and-a-half lobster, right? And then, we've got this is a female lobster, right? Because it's got soft over here. We want to make sure that they're lively and fresh and they're alert. No dead lobsters going in there. Hard shell, right? All right, Steve, throw them in there. Let's see what we're all about.
While he's cooking away back there, I'm going to make a seasoning mix with some salt and these spices from your local grocery store.
Yum, that sounds great.
Keep stirring away back there, Reggie.
The chef's in charge.
Cut! Look, Susan.
Steffi,
this food sucks. You guys have no chemistry.
Don't think I forgot about you, Mr. Quinn. I got some nice ham for you, Mr. Quinn.
Thanks, me Carver.
You finish that ham, okay? And then I got some more for you.
And meat carver's pretty cool, man. It's alright, man.
Told you I almost fell off the scaffolding.
I demand that you put that scene back in the film.
Or what?
Or don't put me in the film at all.
Are you crazy? You know I can't do that. I'd have to re-edit the thing and reshoot scenes and...
Then I'll sue your ass.
You can't. You signed a release.
Then I'll kick your ass.
What the amount in our bank account really indicates is how much money the bank owes us. It's a record of the bank's promise to pay us money, not the money we deposited itself. The difference is important. The truth is, when we hand the contents of our piggy bank to the bank teller, our money becomes...
Good evening. I'm Erin Becker, Director of the Cambridge Art Association, and this is Creative Process. My guest this month is local artist Joe Kitsch. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So Joe, tell us a little bit about your background as an artist. What is your earliest art-related memory?
My earliest art-related memory was drawing with my cousins as a kid. We would draw little spaceships all over a piece of paper and then battle each other to the death. So the end result was basically just a mess of scribble and, pencil marks everywhere.
And violent.
And violent. Usually ended up in tears at some point.
So where did you go from there?
From there, my parents started drawing comic books, and my parents saw that I was really involved in wanting to draw, so they put me out on weekends for taking lessons at different art schools around the city, in Philadelphia. And then from there, just kind of kept interested in it in high school, motivated, and went to University of Hartford for college. Yeah.
You've been in New England ever since?
And I've been in New England ever since.
Great. Well, we all love the snow. So on your website, you identify yourself as a conceptual or pop artist. And,
yes.
And what is it about conceptual and pop art that really, fuels your fire for art making?
I like the two, really because for conceptual art, it really works your mind. There's an intellectual set to it, and it stimulates you that way. And then the pop art is really, it's more of a common language, and it kind of grabs your eye, and you can relate to it. So if you can combine the two together, it becomes just kind of like a smart conversation that people can understand.
Cool. And I know you have some examples of your art. If you want to show those to us,
Sure.
we can talk about them.
And
there we go. So what are we looking at here?
So this is from one of my series called White Rabbit in a Snowstorm. And what I did was, for a lot of it, is just I would build up paint around the silhouette of a rabbit in an all-white painting. It really dealt with ideas of existential thought, and I started applying it to more topical ideas too.
And you have a whole series of the White Rabbits.
Yeah, I worked for, I think, for about 4 or maybe 5 years almost.
Wow.
Here, so you can see it's a little more difficult to see the rabbit, but the carrot's there.
Oh, I see. It looks like one of those Easter sort of blow-up bunnies.
Right, right. Yeah, and this is built up from acrylic paint. And it's cool, like, if the light hits the painting a certain way, you can see the rabbit, like, because the shadow shows up on the edges, and then when it turns a certain way, it'll just completely disappear. So, is the rabbit there? It's not really there. It's it's how you perceive it and how you think about it.
And how long does it take you to build up all of those layers of paint?
It depends. I work pretty quick. It depends on the the shape of the silhouettes and the complexity of the image. That's why I just tried to add like bits of color into them and kind of make them a little more intricate that way.
Cool. What's next?
What's next? From there, after doing all that series of just all mostly white paintings, I got kind of tired. I wanted to break out. I wanted color back in my life.
Okay.
So when I was living in Brookline, I did a solo show at the Brookline Arts Center.
Okay.
Which I called Mad Mad World. Here I started getting into ideas of science and math, and was really into fractals.
Okay.
And the idea of fractals and patterns throughout the universe, and everything in the show was made, like the clouds in the background, those are half of a Mandelbrot set. And then things hanging from the ceiling were just sections of stuffed rabbits, like patterns, and they were like cutouts, and everything was just around. And you can just really get involved because of the space, you could walk into it and interact with it in a way.
So it's more of an installation.
Yeah, more of an installation.
Excellent.
And from there, to continue, I do mostly a lot of painting. As an artist, it's a lot easier to store, and then you're not just putting something together and then having it taken down and thrown away. This can kind of go, it has a continuation of a life.
Yes.
So here's an example of after the installation where I'm still working with a lot of color. I'm apparently working with all the colors.
All of the colors.
I was also trying to break away from the rabbits and getting into something new. And this was kind of one of the last rabbit pieces that I had done. This piece is called Fibonacci, and it's based on the Fibonacci sequence, where you take one number, you add it to the next, and it gets to the next number in the sequence.
Okay.
And it goes around and around, and each color in this represents a different number.
Okay.
So it starts off 1, 1, 2. The biggest section is 55, I believe.
Okay.
That's the gray section.
That's the gray. Okay.
And the gray section, each one of those little dots on there is a 1 inch by 1 inch square.
Okay.
Individually hand-painted mixed colors.
Okay. And what does the 1 inch square it just represents the full 55, and then the gradient is just something you added?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. And so, getting back to the rabbits a little bit, we talk with artists a lot about, how do you know when something is done? Especially when you're working with a series.
Yeah.
How do you know that you're done with the series? How do you know that you're at the end point?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe it sounds kind of bad, but you kind of get tired of it.
It's fair.
It's like, I don't know, eating the same thing all the time. And eventually you have to change things up a little bit. So
like not having peanut butter and jelly every day
yes,
for lunch.
Yes.
You might want to have like a ham sandwich.
Or in post-college, ramen noodles every day. Eventually you got to get the cream of chicken flavor rather than just the
ramen noodles are super trendy
they
now.
Are.
So I might want to go back to that. No, I feel like that's always the question. It's like, how do you know a piece is done? And then it's, when you're working on a long series, how do you know it's done? And often artists do say that. It's, kind of when they're tired of it. It's like they've reached the end of whatever it is that they have to say.
Right. When I go into like a specific piece by itself, I usually have the thing mapped out either in my head or just some thumbnail sketches. And I just attack it right away and then just to what I thought it was going to be. But as for a series, it just, as long as the ideas keep coming and as long as the ideas are still fresh and still excited about it, I'm going to keep going with it. And that's what it was with the White Rabbit series. It was going and going and going with it, and then I was starting to get stale with myself. So I wanted to break out. I wanted to see the colors. I wanted to do more things and try out some new stuff.
Cool. And speaking of creative process, how do you keep track of your ideas?
Usually in a sketchbook.
Okay. Old school.
Yes, old school. I've actually been getting away from that, and just now it's becoming just scraps of paper. But and that's becoming a problem because I lose those pieces of paper. And and then they turn. Well, look,
you put them in a folder or just?
Not usually. Yeah, they'll just like randomly, like you wash them clothes, and then when you pull it out of your pocket, and there's that washed up piece of thing.
That was something important.
Yeah, whoops.
Oh no! So you need to work on your organizational system.
A little bit, yeah. I used to be more organized. I need to get back to it.
Oh, we're all busy. So I think you have some more artwork.
Sure.
Show us.
So I've been. So being tired of old series and things like that, I went back and I started taking some of the old paintings that I was no longer happy with, and I started using them as paint palettes. So this piece in particular, it's 4 different paintings that at one point or another I started using as a paint palette.
Are they on canvas?
They are, they were
Okay.
stretched canvas, pre-existing works. You could probably, if you go to my website, joekitsch.com, you'll be able to see them there, but they no longer exist. They've taken on a new life.
Interesting.
And so, I really like the idea of recycling old things and kind of getting it back and making it fresh and new. I don't like a whole lot of waste in my life, so even like with the old artwork, I try to somehow reuse it, reincorporate it, or just even get the old materials back into the work that I'm making at the time.
Okay.
So here, a lot of the previous works, probably like that Fibonacci piece, if I was working on a certain color, you'll notice like one section of that piece is kind of like really blue.
Okay.
So I may have been using that when I was painting the blue section of the Fibonacci painting.
Okay.
And then I just filled up that painting or that canvas that I was using as a palette. I would just take it aside and put kind of like the look of it, just put it aside and leave it alone for a while. And I've had these sitting around for a couple of years, and just recently decided to start doing something with them.
Interesting. So what does D equal RT mean?
It's distance equals rate times time.
Okay.
And this is kind of like a self-portrait of sorts, and I think this can apply to everybody. It's kind of using science as like a metaphor, as an analogy, and it's like how far you go in your life depends on the progressive of your rate and how long that takes.
Okay.
That red line along there is yarn that is sewn into the canvas.
Okay.
And it is from a graph of a character arc for literature.
Oh.
And it starts at a high point, and then there's the trouble and gets low, and blah 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 blah, and there's some type of resolution towards the end.
Interesting. So you think that is sort of how you would define your life as an artist, the character arc sort of thing?
Yeah, I think everybody has their own personal story that that their daily trials and tribulations, and just how they're getting through things.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if it's not the most exciting story, they still have a story.
No, I mean, everybody does have a story. That's why all the StoryCorps stories are so amazing, because they are so human and so perfect. So what else do you have for us?
So let's see, we have
the
and
recent
installation.
We're gonna switch back for a second. So in December, the Cambridge Art Association asked Joe to come up with something for a new installation window that we have at Mifflin Place in Harvard Square. It's right around the corner from the post office. And we said, Joe, here's a 7-by-5-foot window. You can do whatever you want to with it. Yeah. And so tell us about what you did.
So really exciting opportunity just to be given any kind of space as an artist. And
no, we can go back to it in a minute.
Okay. To be given a space as an artist and just saying, do whatever you want. You get full carte blanche on this, and whatever you want to do, let's just make it happen. And the funny part was when you're like, guys, you have 2 weeks. It was like,
no pressure.
Oh no. Try not to get too nervous.
That's okay.
So for this, completely had no idea at first. Probably kind of relate to the story of Jackson Pollock when he was painting the mural for Peggy Guggenheim. And he just stared at the blank canvas up until almost the last minute. And so probably about the first week and a half went by, and I was milling around some ideas. And then finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to revisit the White Rabbit series. And I'm going to do something about the Constitution right now and about people's rights. And because there's a lot going on with the protests and just money in politics and you name it going on. Like, I don't want to get too specific with the ideas. I want people to have a dialogue with themselves or be able to start talking about this with anybody at all. So that's why, like, the entire thing, it's like, it's instead of being all white, the entire thing is made out of prints of the Constitution. I got that online. There's a website for the Constitution. I think it might be like constitution.org or something like that. But anyway, I printed out numerous copies of it, and was able to do some really fun things. I made that background curtain kind of a thing. It's just a repetition of all of the Constitution and the amendments. We got 2 silhouettes of the rabbits, just kind of bringing it back in. You know, there's the rabbits. There's just where we are. You know, just revisiting the existential idea of getting things in there.
Yeah.
So they're in this landscape, and the Constitution is American. And I wanted people to start thinking about, Purple Mountain's majesty. Like in the songs, right? Gets you nice and patriotic, gets you all yay.
Yeah.
So I chose a mountain, but I chose Mount St. Helens. I found a postcard, and I took the silhouette of Mount St. Helens before the disaster in 1980s, in the 80s, and just kind of had that in the background. And it's kind of like, yeah, maybe, it's beautiful, but maybe there's some kind of, something could happen.
An underlying problem.
There's an underlying problem that could be happening. There's shredded Constitution all over the ground. And that's
How many copies of shredded Constitution are there?
That, not really sure. There's quite a few in there.
Okay.
I didn't really keep count of it. I just kind of kept shredding them as I needed it. I just wanted to, I filled up a giant trash bag of shredded Constitution.
Wow. It's okay, we'll recycle it all later.
Yeah, well, that is the plan, yes.
Yeah.
That is the plan.
Excellent. And what is the cloud?
The cloud, it's the information cloud. And putting it up there, it's like a storm cloud, and it's the place where it is kind of a storm cloud, and it's putting out this snow. And it's, people can access the information, or they can put their ideas about that information out there, and the sharing of these ideas, and it's just kind of cyclical, and it goes around.
Excellent. And you thought about this and executed it all in 2 weeks?
Yes.
A month?
Less than that.
Less than two?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I highly recommend that you go see it. It's up until the end of March, I think.
Okay.
At Mifflin Place, 125 Mount Auburn Street in Harvard Square. It's right around the corner from the post office, and you can see it 24 hours a day. It's very nicely lit, and it has some bonus little sparkling lights in there. So besides We the People, what else are you up to, Joe?
That's a great question.
Yeah?
Still working on that recycling series of the paintings. I have going to be renewing my membership at Galatea Fine Art on the South End. I'm a member down there. It's a great gallery space. So I'd be having a solo show coming up.
Nice.
Just have to come up with the idea and come out with some work
Well, you
for
come
that.
with great ideas.
Thank you.
And when will that happen? Sometime this year or next year?
Probably in the fall or next spring or something like that. The details are all up in the air right now. So.
And what else are you working on in terms of individual projects? What are you thinking about?
I don't know yet.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about? You've kind of had multiple lives as an artist in a way. You've run your own gallery. You've done a lot of pop-up stuff. What did you learn in doing those other things that were sort of more on the commercial and promotional side? What did you learn from that experience?
That's a good question. Well, you have to really enjoy it, because if you go in there thinking you're going to be for fame or for fortune, it's not really going to happen. You're going to go in there, you're going to meet great people, you're going to see a lot of great art, and it's going to inspire you, and you're going to come out with a lot of other really good things for yourself, because you just absorb a lot of everything else that you come across. I really enjoyed doing the pop-up shows, and I used to have a space down on Harrison Avenue, studio space there. I would throw monthly themed shows. For Valentine's Day, there was a sex and chocolate show.
Okay.
I think my favorite was Battle Royale. It had about, I think it was 4 other artists, and we were all in competition. All the artwork was about violence or conflict.
Okay.
And in order to make it an official battle of sorts, we had, as the public came in, they voted for their favorite artist. And at the end of the night, they were given a trophy.
Awesome. Did you select the artists, or how did that work?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I went around, just people that I met, and I talked to them and see who would be interested in that.
Who won?
Seth Diamond.
All right.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you won.
I did not.
Would that have been seen as sort of like not totally above board?
Yeah.
Would you ever do that again? Would you ever have another pop-up space?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I can, I would absolutely do it in a moment.
Cool. What else do you want to tell us? What's your favorite thing about being an artist? What inspires you every day to make art?
I don't know, it's more of where you find the inspiration, and that's in other, I find it a lot in other people, and just in simple things like sitting down and having conversations with them. And it's funny, like somebody will just have this little tidbit of an idea, or they'll say something, and it may even pass off as completely nothing at the moment, but it'll stick with me, and I'll go home and maybe I'll write it down, and then that something about it just kind of grows and grows, and then I start throwing ideas and kind of developing things with that.
And you had mentioned that you keep your old sort of, well, that you used to keep your ideas in sort of a sketchbook. Do you ever kind of go back to the archives and pull some old ideas out?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
I've gone back to some of the older sketchbooks. I want to burn them all.
I was going to say, how do you feel when you go back? Is there a moment of like, oh God, that was
like,
me?
Ooh, oh no, let's hope the public never sees this. Let me hope I destroy this before I die.
Could be valuable someday. You never know.
No, occasionally I'll go back, and once in a while, like there'll be a page, in there, and I'll if it's good, I'll cut it out, and I'll throw it into the new sketchbook and just kind of like tape it in there, and then because it'll be something about it that kind of connects or kind of just has a spark of some relation to what I'm doing already.
Okay. I was going to ask what makes it good.
Yeah.
It's that intangible thing that jumps out at you.
Right. So, it'll be smart, it'll be kind of funny, and just something, I don't know, it'll just have that intangible something about it. A lot of the stuff that I like to do has like a system or a pattern to it.
I noticed that.
Even the way that I work, I'll work on multiple canvases at the same time, and just work on them in a process and set them up. So if I was doing the White Rabbits, I would have like 4 of them going at the same time, and then do a layer on each one. And by the time I'm done with the last one, I can go back to the first one and just kind of keep going. Like
because
that.
you're working in acrylic.
Yeah.
Interesting. And is that always, because I feel like the work of yours that I've seen is often in a series, and you've played a lot with mathematical and scientific things. Do you foresee that aspect continuing as well? I'm going to know where you're going.
I might be bringing it down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been funny, like I've been doing a lot with that, and as soon as you start talking about math or talking about the science, and people kind of glaze over a little bit, and they're like, oh, maybe I should have paid better attention in school, or I don't feel smart enough. So I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm going to incorporate it somehow into more of a pop culture.
Well, I love you have the pie painting of pie, and then it's actually a slice of pie.
Yeah, key lime, my
key
favorite.
Lime pie. It's
my
pretty
favorite
great.
pie.
Really, your favorite pie?
Absolutely favorite.
Interesting. Have you ever painted any other paintings of key lime pie, or is
Not
it
yet.
the only one?
That was the only one.
You do a whole series of like my favorite things in paintings. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I know an artist who spent a couple of years painting things that she was afraid of, and she worked through her fears of various things like flying through a series of paintings. Sharks, airplanes.
I see.
There was something else in there, but it was really kind of fascinating as a therapeutic thing of how you can work through some issues that you have. And
well, most of the stuff that I include into the work is on a personal level I like in some way. So like pie, I like the key lime pie, I like to eat it, so I'll include it. But it also has to relate to the piece itself too. So that piece in particular was about the number pi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you had pie.
And then I had pie.
Any final thoughts? We have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. I don't know. Other artists, get out there, just do what you like to do, meet everybody, and
Show up.
Show up.
No, I mean I feel like for the creative process, there's always some magic, and part of that is what you bring to making art as an individual. No one else is going to make the same art as you, and you're not going to make the same art as somebody else. It might be influenced by various other cultures, existing artists, but no one else is ever going to make the same thing. But you have to put it out there. You have to go to events and show up for things and shake some hands and be nice to people.
Right. And for all the non-artists out there, get out, go see the shows. You'll be entertained.
Support local art.
Support local art.
There's a lot of really wonderful art going on in our community, and it gets better every year. So definitely support us. I think we're going to wrap up here a couple of minutes early, but thank you for watching Creative Process. We'll be on next month on March 18th with Susie Martin and Tom Acevedo. They're both local painters, and they'll be talking about their creative process. Stay warm.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthit.
Club Passim has a rich history in Harvard Square as a premier music venue. But did you know that Passim is a nonprofit organization?
Are you ready to play some music? Take a class at the Passim School of Music or play a few songs at our weekly open mic night.
And if you're looking to just get out and listen to some music, come to a show at the club or to one of the free Passim-sponsored concerts held throughout Cambridge. Visit us at passim.org.